Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. March endeth, my friends, and so cometh the final installment of tech news before the inevitable flood of shitty April Fool's Day promotions. Obvious, cringe-worthy attempts at humor or deception that rarely amount to more than so much eye-rolling buffoonery. Remember back when April Fool's Day wasn't all commercialized and the foolishness used to mean something? It was a different time then. We were different. But I see now that the true fools were ourselves. But right, tech news, what happened this week? Intel might make Nvidia GPUs, AMD sold the most launch GPUs ever, and the best new GPU might be a CPU. It's almost enough to give you hope for the future of PC gaming. Almost. Time for tech news.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by the Corsair Frame 4000D computer case, available in a variety of configurations thanks to the Frame modular case system. Customize your cooling with the InfiniRail fan mounting system, use removable panels to cover cables or mount fans to guide the Frame 4000D's high airflow pathways, or go for a clutter-free build thanks to reverse connector motherboard compatibility. There's also room for dual 360mm radiators and included GPU anti-sag support and easy IQ Link integration for RGB control and system monitoring. For more on the Corsair Frame 4000D, click the sponsor link in the video description. The GPU supply situation remained terrible this week, with gamers' despair further cemented by insightful reports that laid bare the stark difference between what GPUs cost right now versus what GPUs should cost right now. If there is some distant, strangled hope for the future though, it would be the addition of more fabs capable of producing mid to upper tier gaming GPUs outside of TSMC's 4N. And it would appear that that might be happening. So yes, good news about GPUs, everyone. First, per stock analyst Timothy Arcuri, Nvidia might be close to signing as a foundry partner with Intel in an unholy turquoise alliance that could use Team Blue's 18A node to produce something potentially for gaming applications for Team Green, which sounds like GPUs, but let's not get our hopes up too prematurely. We will hopefully hear more on this development in the next few weeks, or perhaps at the Intel Foundry Direct Connect event April 29th. Nvidia isn't just looking to book some fab time with Intel though, they have also continued partnership with TSMC, but this time stateside at the new facilities in Arizona, where Nvidia will procure $500 billion worth of chips in the next 4 years as discussed last week. This is less in the rumor category since Jensen himself confirmed it at GTC, but questions lingered about increased costs at the Arizona fab since we're so fancy here in the USA. But if a Tech Insights analysis is correct, the actual increase for TSMC is only about 10%, which isn't too bad and is still less than a 15% tariff. So again, more potential for GPUs to be made in more fabs, which somewhere down the line might mean more supply and lower prices. And if all that isn't enough good GPU news, we have actual photo evidence of people being sensible and not buying Asus ROG Astral RTX 5090s for $3,719 at Micro Center. Here's a picture of a case full of them, seemingly untouched, indicating that perhaps there is a price ceiling on these GPUs after all. Let's hope this means we've passed the high watermark. Speaking of Nvidia and Intel, what about AMD? Their CEO Lisa Su did an interview with Asus Tony this week, where she revealed that the 9070 XT is their best-selling GPU ever, selling 10 times more than previous generations, not to put too fine a point on it, which you'd think would encourage them to make more of them. And oh good, Dr. Su also said, "We are increasing the manufacturing so we can have more gamers to have access." At least according to this WCCF Tech quote, which might have had some syntax ordering problems. And you know the nice thing about increasing manufacturing is how non-specific that promise is. You could increase by 1,000%, or just by making 5 more Radeon GPUs than you did last month, and technically, you didn't lie either way. Whenever I see an article with a promise to get more GPUs to market lately though, I just head over to Newegg or PC Part Picker to reality check, and the $600 9070 XT is still selling for $900 at the cheapest. Nope, no increasing manufacturing has manifested quite yet. I guess we'll have to take Lisa's word for it. Also in said interview, a different kind of GPU that could provide some alternative gaming options for PC builders was discussed. Strix Halo, the SoC or APU that is called the Ryzen AI Max 300 series and retail trim and ships in portable gaming devices like the Asus ROG Flow Z13. There are 8 to 16 core variants of this chip with integrated graphics that can often perform in the RTX 4070 range, and they would likely come to desktop via custom boards with the CPU soldered on, but would still allow for memory or discrete GPU upgrades. Or perhaps they might come as socketed AM5 chips. Lisa did not specify, she just said, yes, of course. Even if they were BGA, I would love to see Strix Halo available for desktops because there are plenty of gamers who would be happy with performance in the RTX 4070 range, and it would leave an upgrade path to a discrete GPU open as well. Or budget gamers might get another option in the Radeon RX 9060 and RX 9060 XT, which Twitter leaker Harukaze5719 leaked on Twitter late last week with various models from Asus, TUF, Prime, and Dual variants, and both 8GB and 16GB memory configurations. Oh, and on Monday, the RTX 5060 and 5060 Ti were further rumored to now be announced April 15th, with the 5060 Ti launching the next day, and the 5060 going up for sale sometime in May. And apparently Nvidia was like, hey you board partners, you'd better have an MSRP model available. We mean it, so that problem should be solved. And now we proceed with tech briefs, and if you hadn't noticed, today's show as a whole is on the briefier side, and that's because I have a plane to catch in order to attend a memorial service for Gordon Ma Ung, the intrepid tech journalist who sadly passed away at the far too young age of 58 back at the end of 2024. I and many of my friends and colleagues will be pouring one out for the OG PC hardware guru who taught us all so much over the years, and if you were a fan of Gordon's work on Maximum PC, PC World, or any of the other things that he did, consider saying thank you by donating to the GoFundMe to help support his wife and 2 kids who survived him. And thanks to everyone in our generous community who has already contributed to the more than $200,000 that has already been raised. Awkwardly segueing back to a couple more tech news stories, the Nvidia RTX 50 series problems since launch have been numerous, and apparently they are so bad they are infecting prior generations of GPUs. Specifically, the black screen problem, which was reportedly fixed with a driver update a few weeks ago, was not fixed, and indeed further driver updates have caused perfectly functional RTX 40 series cards to start exhibiting the same problem. As shown by extensive documentation on Reddit, multiple users are experiencing this problem, and while rolling back to the 566 drivers or previous fixes it, the newer 572 range drivers are required for some newer titles to function, leaving affected gamers with a frustrating choice. Surely this news will drastically impact Nvidia GPU sales and suddenly no one will want RTX 40 or 50 series cards anymore. Speaking of things that suck, or things that don't suck rather, Noctua demonstrated their thermosiphon CPU cooler at an event in Japan this week, where it was revealed that they expect to launch this device in 2026, Noctua's notoriously delay-prone product roadmap notwithstanding. The thermosiphon was demoed at Computex last year, and while it looks like an AIO, it actually uses phase change refrigerant to shuttle heat away from the CPU rather than a pump. It's just science, of course, but Noctua has produced this graphic explaining the physics of the thermosiphon because they got tired of people asking if they'd have to suck warm liquid through a tube every time they started their computer up with this thing installed. Speaking of tasks your mom frequently enjoys, it's time to finish off the show. So there you have it, guys, tech news for the week, and if you liked it, click that like button or leave me a comment down below. While you're down there, all of the articles I talked about today are linked in the video's description if you're interested, and you can also check out my store at paulshardware.net for high quality merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, beer sets, and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next week.